Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show where we cut through the noise and give you the most important nuggets of knowledge from a stack of sources, all designed to make you instantly more informed. Today, we're taking a plunge into sales and operations planning, or S&OP, and it's incredibly insightful evolution into integrated business planning, IBP, our mission, to give you the ultimate shortcut to understanding how companies master that delicate yet absolutely critical art of balancing demand and supply, seamlessly integrate their plans, and truly achieve operational excellence. Think about this for a second. Have you ever been frustrated by constantly running out of something you desperately needed? Or maybe been completely blindsided by like a warehouse full of unsold product, just gathering dust? What about that big promotion that just didn't quite hit the mark, or maybe a new product launch that sort of stumbled right out of the gate? These aren't just minor annoyances, are they? I mean, these are the kinds of pervasive, profit-draining business challenges that make effective integrated planning not just important, but absolutely essential.
Precisely, yeah. And that's really where S&OP comes in. It's the core, the foundational process specifically engineered to tackle these very issues head on. At its heart, it's about making sure every single part of a business, from sales to production to finance, is marching to the beat of one set of numbers. It's really about that organizational alignment. Hashtag the deep dive.
Okay, let's really unpack this then. Before we even get into what S&OP is exactly, what are the real, messy, frustrating problems it's specifically designed to solve in today's, well, incredibly complex marketplace?
Well, our sources lay out a whole spectrum of industry challenges that S&OP is built to overcome, and ultimately it's aiming to drive more profitable revenue growth. So imagine the pain of persistent stockouts, leading to frustrated customers, lost sales.
Yeah, that's a killer.
Definitely. Then there's the flip side, excessive inventory, which isn't just taking up space, right? It's tying up capital, it's cost you money in storage, and it can even lead to costly write-offs if products expire or become obsolete. On top of that, you often see low service levels, promotions that, frankly, spectacularly fail to deliver a positive return on investment.
Wasted effort.
Wasted effort, wasted money, and of course, that direct hit to the bottom line. Loss of revenue. It also addresses the very real problem of new product introduction failures launches that simply don't land, which are incredibly costly, as you can imagine.
Oh, absolutely.
And the slow, unresponsive nature of long manufacturing lead times. That can cripple a company's ability to adapt quickly. And a massive one really is the chronic poor collaboration you often see between critical functions like sales, marketing, demand management, operations, even with their own customers sometimes, all compounded by highly fluctuating demand and, managing countless product variations, which makes accurate demand planning a true headache, a real challenge.
Wow, so it's not just about managing inventory levels, it's tackling these fundamental cracks in how a business operates. So given all those pain points, if you had to boil S&OP down to its absolute essence, what is it?
Okay. At its core, S&OP is essentially the strategic GPS for your business. Think of it like that. It's a continuous process that allows management to strategically direct the business. It helps achieve competitive advantage by seamlessly integrating your customer-focused marketing plans for both new and existing products with the intricate management of your supply chain. It's about taking all the diverse plans across the business: sales, marketing, product development, manufacturing, sourcing, finance, and bringing them together into one integrated, unified set.
One set of numbers, like you said.
Exactly. In simpler terms, it creates a single company-wide demand and supply plan. It's what gives you that next level of detail to fulfill your broader business objectives. It outlines sales, production, and inventory targets, typically at the product family level, and always incorporates the planned impact of new products or promotions. The absolute key here, as you mentioned earlier, is the balancing act. Continuously harmonizing your demand forecasts and actual customer orders with your supply capabilities, available resources, capacity, and inventory levels. It's a constant juggle.
So it's this balancing act that brings everything together. Okay, beyond just that core definition, what are the clear, tangible objectives of S&OP? What can a company realistically expect to gain from, truly mastering this?
Well, the objectives are quite direct, quite clear. S&OP primarily supports and measures progress in meeting the entire enterprise's overarching business plan. That's fundamental. It's crucial for ensuring that those strategic plans aren't just wishful thinking, but are realistic and truly executable before any tactical planning even begins.
Right, grounding strategy in reality.
Exactly. It's the mechanism that allows an organization to successfully manage marketplace changes, giving you agility. And it ensures effective management of your finished goods inventories and order backlog, which directly supports delivering outstanding customer service. Crucially, its built-in reporting mechanisms act as an early warning system. They identify when actual performance deviates from the plan.
Ah, so you catch problems early.
You catch problems early, which then allows the entire management team to understand the challenges and act on them with the proper priority or focus. Now, in terms of pragmatic benefits, the things you actually see, S&OP provides a clear, structured way to manage change throughout the organization, which is huge. It ensures that plans from various departments like sales, marketing, operations are realistic and, importantly, aligned. It inherently incorporates performance measures, which are absolutely vital for accountability across different teams. You need those metrics.
Keeps everyone honest.
It does. And perhaps one of its most powerful benefits is providing forward visibility. It drastically reduces those surprises that can just derail a quarter. It doesn't just encourage communication, it actually demands it at a cultural level. It really helps dismantle those internal silos that plague so many companies. And fundamentally, when implemented well, it will significantly improve operational efficiencies across the board. That's a given. What's truly fascinating here, I think, is that successful S&OP isn't a single magic bullet. It's not just a piece of software you install and poof, everything's fixed. Instead, it's built upon 8 critical foundations that ensure it's rigorous, disciplined, and truly impactful.
8 foundations. Okay, let's dig into these. What are they and how do they sort of build on each other?
Absolutely. The first one is tiered planning horizon. This is all about linking your strategic, long-range financial plans, which are usually pretty high level, aggregate with your medium-range product family volume plans, which are more tactical, and then linking those down to your short-range detailed product mix plans, which are very operational.
So connecting the long game to the day-to-day.
Precisely. This ensures your day-to-day work connects directly to your long-term corporate goals. It helps build consensus across different timeframes, and it helps everyone see the bigger picture, not just their little piece.
It's like having different zoom levels, maybe. From the satellite view down to the street view, but they're all connected. That makes sense. What's next?
Exactly. That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Second is integrated sub-processes. This really highlights how S&OP acts as a funnel. It brings together a myriad of often disparate plans. Your demand plan, supply plan, corporate plan, inventory or brand plan, marketing plan, sales plan, production plan, resource plan, logistics plan, all these different pieces, and channels them into one cohesive S&OP process. It's the meeting point, the integration hub for all those individual functions. Third, and this one is huge, leadership accountability. This is absolutely non-negotiable for success. You need a dedicated executive sponsor who sets clear expectations and, importantly, clears obstacles out of the way.
Someone with clout.
Someone with clout, exactly. You need an S&OP process owner to lead the monthly cycle and manage conflicts, because there will be conflicts. You need dedicated demand and supply planning teams, a pre-S&OP team specifically tasked with making recommendations, and then the executive S&OP team to make those critical final decisions. Without clear roles and unwavering commitment from the top, even the best system, the best process will likely fall flat.
Yeah, that leadership point feels absolutely critical. It sounds like without that executive buy-in, even the best system or the most perfect data just sits there unused. What about the data itself?
You hit the nail on the head there, which brings us to the fourth foundation, deep analytics. Data and analytics aren't just important, they are truly the beating heart of S&OP. Analytics-based reporting tells teams where they are right now, what actions need to be taken, what results and trends are emerging, and crucially, what corrective steps to take. It transforms intuition, or maybe guesswork, into informed action.
Data-driven decisions.
Exactly. Fifth, following on from data, is performance metrics. These are what give S&OP its teeth, its rigor. They drive accountability and ownership for the S&OP objectives. And you typically have tiered metrics. So Tier 1 might be big picture, things like overall supply chain cost or forecast variance. Tier 2 could be more specific, like logistics costs, inventory carrying costs, or resource utilization, production plan execution. And Tier 3 gets very granular. Fill rates, days of inventory on hand, obsolescence cost, material, labor, overhead costs, things like that. These metrics ensure the process is factual. It builds executive confidence because they can see the results.
So it's not just about making the plan, it's constantly measuring if the plan is actually working and then course correcting based on those measurements.
Precisely. Which leads nicely into the sixth foundation, grids and graphs. Seems simple, maybe, but these are vital visual tools. They allow teams to quickly digest complex information. You can easily see sales forecasts versus actuals, production plans, finished goods, inventory levels, all laid out clearly, often with plan versus actual data side by side.
Makes it easy to spot deviations.
Instantly. They highlight performance gaps and potential issues, making the data actionable and much easier to grasp for everyone involved, regardless of their technical background. Seventh, and this is often the trickiest one, change management. This is where so many initiatives, not just S&OP, stumble and fall. One source we looked at put it very insightfully. An S&OP project is 60% change management, 30% process development, and only 10% technology.
Wow, 60% change management. That's huge.
It really is. It's all about getting people to accept ownership of new roles, maybe roles they didn't have before. It's about adjusting the company culture, providing thorough training, and, critically, winning employee support by persuasively demonstrating why these changes are appropriate and how they're actually beneficial, both for the company and for them individually. And finally, the eighth foundation, continuous improvement. This isn't a one-and-done project. It's a never-ending effort to expose and eliminate root causes of problems, as the APS dictionary defines it. The beauty here is that the best ideas for process improvement often come from the S&OP team participants themselves, the people doing the work. This makes the ideas far more realistic and implementable.
Ground-up improvement.
Exactly. S&OP enables continuous monitoring, feedback, and sharing of these ideas. And when people feel heard, it motivates them to continually improve their own performance, fostering a real sense of ownership and teamwork.
That's a really robust set of foundations. It paints a clear picture of what underpins a successful process. So how does all of this actually come together in practice? Can you walk us through the typical monthly rhythm, the cycle of an S&OP process?
Absolutely. The S&OP process typically follows, a monthly rhythm involving several key meetings and activities that are all linked together. It often kicks off with something called Sales and Marketing Activity Planning, or SMA. This is where the unconstrained sales plan gets developed. Now, it's built from a foundational demand forecast, which looks at historical data, patterns, seasonality.
The baseline.
The baseline, exactly. But crucially, it's heavily informed by input from the sales and marketing teams. What are they seeing? What promotions are planned? What market intelligence do they have? All with the ultimate goal of meeting the company's revenue and profit requirements.
So it starts with a realistic view, but it's unconstrained at this point. It's what sales and marketing think they could sell if there are no supply limitations.
Precisely. That's the key, unconstrained. Within this estimate phase, your forecaster reviews the demand history, runs the statistical models. Marketing typically handles the longer-term plans, maybe looking at month 3 onwards, thinking about strategic initiatives. While sales usually focuses on the immediate future, say, month 1 to month 3, maybe out to 6 months if there are big promotional activities planned. Updates from new product development, what's launching, when are also fed into this process. The critical output is the SMAP meeting itself. This is where an agreed unconstrained sales plan is created and formally approved by sales, marketing, new product development, and finance. It's very much an action planning and coordination meeting, ensuring everyone agrees to one unified sales plan. And that plan then becomes the driving force for all the other parts of the business downstream. A key part of this initial phase focuses specifically on the demand forecasting objectives. What are we trying to achieve? Well, you're aiming to maximize forecast accuracy, naturally, and order fulfillment. You want to minimize out of stocks to maximize sales, but also minimize write-offs or costly product dumps at the other end.
That balancing act again.
It is. And when we talk about forecasting, there's an interesting concept called lean forecasting. The idea here is you only forecast at the mix level, meaning individual SKUs, the specific items out to your planning time fence.
Whoa, hang on. Planning time fence. That sounds like a line in the sand. What exactly does that mean?
Good question. Yeah, it kind of is a line in the sand. Think of the planning time fence as that critical point in time, usually a few weeks or months out, where your detailed short-term plans transition into broader aggregate long-term plans. So beyond that fence, you forecast in aggregate at the product family level, not individual SKUs. The caution here from one source is key. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it. Don't forecast detailed SKUs 18 months out if you don't need to.
Focus where the detail matters most.
Precisely. This highlights the importance of understanding the 4 fundamentals of demand and supply. Volume refers to the big picture, the product families, answering how much overall, while mix refers to the granular details, individual SKUs or specific customer orders, answering which ones specifically. Okay, so once that unconstrained sales plan is developed and agreed upon in SMB, it moves over to supply planning. Here, the supply team operations, manufacturing, procurement, logistics takes that unconstrained plan and determines if it can actually be delivered. And importantly, at what cost. They consider both long-term and short-term capacity, machines, labor, materials, warehouse space, everything.
Can we actually make or source this stuff?
Exactly. The objective of the supply planning meeting is essentially to meet that unconstrained sales plan with the most efficient, aggregate, high-level supply plan possible. Broad capacity issues, can we run the plant enough hours? Do we need overtime? Can we get the key materials? Are analyzed and hopefully solved right there on the spot. And this aggregate supply plan then cascades down into all the more detailed supply plans like master production schedules. This phase includes developing tentative master production schedules, simulating material and resource requirements using tools like MRP material requirements planning, and figuring out how to adjust capacity if needed. And for planning beyond that planning time fence we talked about, they often utilize resource requirements planning or rough cut capacity planning using simpler assumptions and bills of resources to get a general gauge of long-term capacity needs.
Okay, so first, we figure out what we want to sell, ideally. Then we figure out if we can actually make or supply it efficiently. Makes sense. What happens next?
Precisely. And then comes a really crucial linking step, the pre-S&OP review. This meeting is incredibly important because its main purpose is to identify any potential issues or imbalances that emerge from comparing the demand and supply plans, things like a shortfall in capacity or maybe inventory building up too high for a certain product family.
The potential conflicts.
Exactly. And not just identify them, but then make concrete recommendations to the executive S&OP group on how to resolve these issues. Think of it as the get ready session, the dress rehearsal for the big executive S&OP meeting. It allows all the alternatives, the pros and cons, the financial implications to be thoroughly researched and vetted beforehand. Key players here typically include managers or representatives from sales planning, new product development, operations, finance, and definitely the S&OP process owner. They review the S&OP spreadsheets, usually family by family, look at the metrics, discuss the gaps, and make necessary adjustments or finalize recommendations. Then, the culmination of this whole monthly cycle is the executive SEOP meeting. This is the decision-making forum. It's typically chaired by a senior leader, often a general manager, or maybe even a C-level executive, depending on the company structure.
The final sign-off.
The final sign-off, yes. The objective here is to make those final, critical decisions on each product family, either accepting the recommendations that came up from the pre-S&OP team or choosing alternative actions based on strategic priorities. This is also where significant changes to production rates or major procurement commitments are formally authorized. The full set of integrated business plans is reviewed, usually at an aggregate financial level, looking across the planning horizon. And ideally, as we said, there should be no surprises in this meeting because all the major issues and alternatives should have been thoroughly discussed and debated in the pre-S&OP review.
So it's about decision-making, not problem discovery.
Exactly. Problem solving, not discovery. They compare actual performance to the budget, ensuring all the plans, sales, production supply, financial, new product development are reconciled and aligned with the overall business plan and financial objectives. The key outputs from this meeting are the official meeting minutes documenting the decisions, agreed actions with owners and timelines, any modifications to the business plan, and the updated, approved S&OP spreadsheets that everyone now works from for the next month. That one set of numbers is now blessed.
This theory and process sounds great, but this is where it gets really captivating for me. Let's look at a concrete, real-world example of S&OP in action. You mentioned the Kiwi Meats division of Mainland Products Limited in New Zealand from back in 2002 to 2005.
Yes, it's a fantastic case study.
Okay.
And it was a significantly complex supply chain they were dealing with. The Kiwi Meats division operated with 3 manufacturing sites and 3 distribution centers, serving various large national accounts across the length of New Zealand. So yeah, a substantial logistical puzzle right from the start.
Okay, given that complexity, what were the core challenges they were really facing at Mainland Meats back then that pushed them to embark on this S&OP journey in the first place? What was the pain?
Oh, they faced a multitude of challenges. The pain was definitely real. Their forecasting complexity was just immense. Get this, with 244 individual SKUs, they were somehow trying to manage an astounding 5,612 different demand models.
Wow. That's a lot.
It's staggering, isn't it? And the business was also heavily promotional driven. Nearly half, 119 of the 244 SKUs were regularly promoted, adding another layer of volatility. Forecast accuracy was abysmal. Their key A SKUs were only hitting 40–45% accuracy within a reasonable ±15% band.
Ouch. Basically a coin toss.
Pretty much. And the forecasting was purely statistical back then, meaning there was little to no human input or market intelligence factored in. Their customer service levels hovered around 95%. Now, that sounds okay on the surface, but underneath, they were wrestling with significant write-offs, a staggering $4 million per annum. And get this, a quarter of that, $1 million, was coming from just 4 specific SKUs.
Just 4 products causing that much waste. That's incredible.
Incredible and unsustainable.
Yeah.
Adding to this perfect storm, their products had a very short shelf life, ranging from just 21 to 60 days. That amplifies the complexity of managing inventory immensely. You have very little room for error. Transportation logistics were also tricky, especially balancing the movements between the North and South Islands. And they had significant seasonal complexities to deal with. Think Christmas hams production had to start way back in mid-September, but actual peak consumption kept shifting later into December. This often led to almost zero sales of any leftover hams in January.
Right. Dead stock.
Exactly. And even something as seemingly simple as sausage demand was heavily dependent on unpredictable weather patterns.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were facing a perfect storm of complexity, inaccuracy, and waste.
Okay, so they were essentially drowning in complexity, poor accuracy, and frankly, massive waste. How did they even begin to approach this? What were the key interventions that started to turn things around?
Well, they applied the S&OP principles. They focused on a typical planning horizon of at least 12 to 18 months, looking primarily at the product family level initially. This involved looking at past and future data, factoring in new product activity, analyzing the gaps between their current trajectory and their budget targets, and importantly, incorporating real-world production, procurement, resource, and supply constraints into the plan. A truly significant early intervention was something they called Project Molehill. A great name, right? Making a mountain out of a molehill, but in reverse.
Yeah. Fixing the small things that cause big problems.
Exactly. This was a pilot project that specifically targeted 4 tray ham Sokusa SKUs destined for a major supermarket chain, Woolworths, WW. These 4 SKUs alone, remember, were responsible for a staggering 25% of their total company write-offs. The project involved simple, weekly coordination meetings. They discussed stock on hand at the Woolworths chillers, upcoming promotional activity, stock availability back at Mainland's distribution centers, and what stocks needed to be shipped. Just basic coordination.
Wait a second. Project Molehill tackled a quarter of their total write-offs just with focused weekly coordination meetings. What happened? What were the results?
The immediate result was phenomenal. In just 2 months, the Woolworths write-offs for those specific ham products were almost zero.
No way. Just from talking weekly.
Pretty much. The key learnings from this pilot were profound. It showed that regular, focused coordination can indeed work magic. Customer service levels for those products went up significantly, and most importantly, the customer Woolworths was much happier. It powerfully demonstrated that fixing things doesn't necessarily require massive investments in time or complex software. It needs commitment and regular consistent input from the right people talking about the right things. Building on this initial success, S&OP became much more of an education process throughout the company. The incredible benefits from Project Molehill were widely circulated proof of concept. Sales and marketing teams were actively educated through talks at internal sales meetings and conferences. Regular updates on performance were provided, and they proactively learned from cases where a lack of sales and marketing input had previously led to forecasting disasters.
Learning from mistakes.
Absolutely. Yeah. They even conducted personal visits to stores to understand the issues firsthand, right at the shelf. And they empowered the sales reps and merchandisers, the people on the ground, to make on-the-spot decisions regarding stock levels, giving them a simple plus-minus to 20% guide and emphasizing using common sense. They also introduced true collaborative forecasting. This wasn't just stats anymore. It involved all the marketing managers and the National Retail Food Service, RFS manager, actively reviewing the monthly category forecasts. Key account managers reviewed the forecast specifically for promoted SKUs using detailed promotional calendars. And crucially, even the RFS personnel like the truck drivers delivering the product and the merchandisers in the stores provided invaluable feedback. They'd report on in-store specials they saw, abnormal demand spikes, even intelligence about losing or gaining customers at a local level.
Wow, using the drivers as intel. That's smart.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
And they felt comfortable doing so because they saw the direct benefits of their input: less waste, happier customers. The demand manager even started initiating tactical in-store specials proactively on products nearing their expiry date to avoid write-offs before they happened. They also fundamentally refined their approach to safety stock calculations. Big change here. They switched to using forward baseline forecasts, recognizing that, especially in their volatile market, the past is not necessarily the future. They meticulously considered the ABC category of the SKU. How important is it? its remaining shelf life, and the actual transportation lead times between different plants and warehouses across regions. The formula they landed on simplified things while incorporating these factors. Safety stock in days, ABC factor plus shelf life factor plus lead time factor multiplied by the average daily base demand of forecast. So, for example, for a specific ham product, the calculated safety stock might range from 4 to 6 days cover, depending on which distribution center it was destined for. Much more dynamic. Their monthly S&OP cycle at Kiwi Meats became quite structured, involving distinct weekly activities. Week 1 was dedicated to analyzing the previous month's KPIs, forecast accuracy, service levels, write-offs, and reporting those results up to the executives. Accountability. Week 2 involved adjusting the statistical forecast models based on recent performance, checking for any abnormal demand signals or upcoming promotions, and getting that crucial input from the sales and marketing teams. Week 3 held the all-important pre-S&OP meeting. This brought together all the key stakeholders, managers from the plants, the DCs, RFS, key accounts, marketing, procurement, quality, even the financial controller. They discussed the KPIs, compare the latest forecasts against the budgets, identify gaps, hash out supply issues, review upcoming promotions, discuss quality aspects, and, most importantly, formulate clear recommendations for the executive team. Forecasts were adjusted right there based on agreements. Finally, in week 4, the executive S&OP meeting took place. This included the general managers of sales and the meats division, the financial controller, and the sales and marketing leadership. The goal: to formally agree on that one set of numbers for the next planning period and provide the final sign-off.
That is a profound transformation for what sounds like it was maybe a very traditional business beforehand. So, boiling it all down, what were the final quantifiable results of this comprehensive S&OP implementation at Kiwi Meats? The bottom line.
The results were truly impressive, and they really tell a powerful story. Forecast accuracy improved dramatically. They went from that dismal 40% level up to having 65% of their SKUs consistently forecast within that plus-minus 15% accuracy band, a huge leap.
Massive improvement.
Massive. Customer service levels also rose significantly, moving from below 95% to consistently over 98%. DFAC delivered in full, on time improved dramatically. And most notably, those crippling write-offs, they were slashed in half, reduced from $4 million down to $2 million per annum, a $2 million savings straight to the bottom line. In fact, October 2002, not long after they really got going, was recorded as the best month ever in the history of the meats division up to that point. They achieved the lowest write-offs, the highest forecast accuracy, and the highest customer service levels all simultaneously. Proof positive. So the key takeaways, the lessons from this fantastic case study, are crystal clear. S&OP is fundamentally a coordination effort. It's about bringing people together and getting them talking about the right things. Sales input, that market intelligence, is absolutely vital for improving forecast accuracy. The statistical numbers alone just aren't enough. It's crucial to focus on the basics first, those elements that give you the biggest bang for your buck, like they did with Project Molehill. Get the foundations right.
Don't boil the ocean?
Exactly. You absolutely must measure the outcomes using clear, agreed-upon metrics like forecast accuracy, DIFOT, and write-offs where applicable. What gets measured gets managed. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, communicate, communicate, communicate. S&OP is at its heart a continuous process of education and collaboration for everyone involved. #6. Implementation challenges and key success factors.
The Kiwi Meats story so vividly illustrates the power of S&OP when it really clicks and gets ingrained. But listening to that, it also sounds like a really significant shift, not just a simple tweak to existing processes. What makes implementing S&OP so difficult for companies generally? And what are the real keys to actually making it succeed?
You're absolutely right. It is a significant undertaking. It's not trivial. The difficulty often lies in the fact that S&OP is fundamentally a new process for many organizations. One source even outlines a detailed 10-step implementation process. And a new process inherently means change. And change means people altering how they do their jobs, potentially restructuring roles and responsibilities, adopting new routines, using new tools.
Yeah, change is hard.
Change is hard. And for people to willingly and enthusiastically embrace these necessary changes, they need a solid understanding of the process. They need a clear vision of why they're doing it, the future state, and critically, they need to believe that it truly benefits them and the company overall. The sources introduce this idea, the ABCs of implementation, and I think it's very telling. A is for people, B is for data, and C is for computer.
People first.
People first. The emphasis is firmly on people as the fundamental, most critical element. And a crucial point here, really the crux of it, is that the real implementation challenge is not in understanding S&OP. The concepts are relatively simple. The hard part is behavior change. changing the way we do our jobs. Discipline, accountability, conflict, that's where the rubber really meets the road.
That distinction is so powerful. It's not the what, it's the how and the who. So if people and behavior change are truly the core challenge, how do companies effectively manage that change aspect? What are the practical drivers to make it stick?
Well, the effective drivers of change management are all about guiding people through this transition successfully. It's proactive work. This means actively working to foster acceptance towards ownership, maybe of new tasks or metrics, and supporting the necessary restructuring of roles and responsibilities. It requires carefully developing necessary adjustments to the company culture, maybe moving from siloed thinking to collaborative thinking and building new capabilities through training. It's absolutely about providing comprehensive ongoing training to employees around the appropriate changes, ensuring they have the skills and understanding. And, crucially, it's about winning the genuine support of employees by persuasively demonstrating the appropriateness and the tangible benefits of the adjustments. It's not just about telling them what to do, but helping them understand why it matters and how it ultimately benefits everyone, including them. Getting that buy-in is paramount.
Okay, so S&OP clearly offers massive benefits when it's implemented right, focusing on those foundations and managing the change. What does all this mean for the future of business planning? I've been hearing this term IBP, or integrated business planning, mentioned more and more, often right alongside S&OP. How do they actually relate? Is IBP just a new name for the same thing, or is it something more?
That's a great question, and it comes up a lot. Peter A. Bolstorff, who's a well-respected voice in the supply chain world, actually notes that leading practices in our field are a bit like fashion. If you wait long enough, they often reappear under a new name or with a slight twist. And S&OP is a prime example of this. Over the years, its concepts have been labeled or wrapped into things like MRP2, ERP, S&OIP, sales and operations, inventory planning, and now, commonly, IBP.
So there's definitely overlap.
Definitely overlap. But IBP is generally seen as the next evolution. In many ways, IBP is the evolution of S&OP, taking its core principles and extending them even further across the enterprise. So IBP, or Integrated Business Planning, is typically defined as the business planning process that truly extends the principles of S&OP throughout the entire enterprise. This includes not just the core demand and supply balancing within the supply chain, but also explicitly integrating product and customer portfolios, linking deeply with customer demand-shaping activities, and tying directly into the overall strategic planning process. The goal is to deliver one seamless end-to-end management process.
Truly integrated, then.
Truly integrated. It's widely considered today's industry best practice model. It's almost always led by senior management, aiming to align all the company plans on a monthly basis. And it's designed to allocate those critical, often constrained resources, people, equipment, inventory, materials, time, and crucially, money to most effectively satisfy customers profitably. That financial integration is key. IBP ensures an earlier, more strategic focus on any potential gaps in overall business performance against the plan, empowering organizations to predict and respond positively to changing conditions with much more foresight and agility.
Okay, so it sounds like S&OP, but with even broader integration, especially financially, and pulled right up to the highest levels of the organization. What are the distinct benefits, then, of taking that leap from a mature S&OP process to a full IBP implementation?
Exactly. IBP brings several distinct advantages, really building on that S&OP foundation. First, it fundamentally makes the whole planning process more explicitly profit-driven. It directly links operational plans to financial outcomes, which naturally engages executives across the entire enterprise much more deeply. It gets finance out of just reporting the past and into shaping the future.
Finance becomes part of the planning engine.
Precisely. It also facilitates the sharing of critical underlying logic, things like bills of material, inventory parameters, lead times, costs, margins, among various processes and applications across the business. This allows for more accurate and farther-reaching planning scenarios. IBP systems can often use models that vary from one planning period to another, offering far greater flexibility to adapt in dynamic, changing environments. They also tend to boast more complex utility tools that enable sophisticated scenario planning, what-if analysis for anything from a potential major machine breakdown to a natural disaster or a competitor's move.
Proactive risk management.
Proactive risk management and opportunity assessment, yes. And importantly, the responsibility for maintaining these planning models and the data within them becomes more explicitly shared across the entire business, which inherently improves collaboration and decision-making quality at every level. Everyone has skin in the game. Now, implementing true IBP, fully integrating business planning, has been a goal for many businesses for many years, but historically it's been quite challenging to achieve in practice. However, technology advancements, particularly with modern ERP systems, think SAP, Oracle, and other specialized planning platforms, have made it much more feasible today to integrate all the necessary data from various functional departments into a single enterprise-wide system or connected systems.
The tech is catching up to the vision.
The tech is catching up, exactly. But, and this is a crucial caution, one that we saw highlighted in the sources, and it often gets overlooked in the rush for new tech acquiring new software, without simultaneously improving the quality of the underlying data and the rigor of the processes around it. Well, that will almost certainly lead to a poor return on investment for the software. Worse, it can lead to distrust in the system and even the abandonment of an otherwise potentially useful planning tool. The technology enables the integration, but that foundation of sound data and well-defined processes must be there first. You can't automate a broken process or bad data and expect good results. #outro.
That's a really important warning. Okay, here's a thought for you, our listeners, to maybe mull over as we wrap up this deep dive into S&OP and IBP. The fascinating journey we've traced from foundational S&OP all the way to fully integrated business planning isn't just about evolving acronyms or adopting fancy new software, is it? It seems to highlight a much deeper truth in business, that the biggest, most transformative gains often come not just from systems, but from genuinely integrating human behavior, accurate data, and robust processes. It's about bringing together the people, the information, and the steps in a truly seamless flow. So consider this. In what area of your own work, or maybe even your personal life, could applying these principles of transparent, collaborative, and measured planning, treating it as more than just a tool, but as a complete approach, lead to a truly significant transformation? And perhaps even more importantly, thinking about that change management piece. What behavioral shifts, what changes in how people interact and take accountability would be absolutely essential for that integration to truly take hold and create a lasting, positive impact. Something to think about.